Here's my story on how Arnold Schwarzenegger impacted my life.
That's what it takes. Action. Talent.
I grew up in the 1980s, born in 1981, into a normal family in Mildura, Victoria, here in Australia. And what ensued was extreme domestic violence throughout my childhood. It was out of control. We were left to our own devices constantly. And this is where my story of how Arnold Schwarzenegger impacted my life starts. Our refuge was watching movies. We would watch horror movies with the volume turned down. I've got vivid memories of watching Freddy Krueger movies at the age of 8, 9, 10. To this day, I have a deep-seated fear of sharks. We used to watch Jaws on mute, and that would scare the living daylights out of me. I'd hide behind couches, I'd watch the shark coming. We didn't even hear the music, but seeing the visuals of the shark, and back in those days there wasn't anything else to compare it to, so the shark was, to us, was real. So there we were at a young age watching these movies that we shouldn't have been watching, and that was shaping us. It's kind of strange to me now thinking back that we chose to watch horror movies on mute to escape from the horror that was our life. Total Recall. We're watching people melt on screen, going to Mars, and just these fantastical things that at that age we didn't really know if they were real or not real, and we're just being mesmerized by this cinematography. And then Arnold did a complete 180 spin in his career and created Kindergarten Cop. That movie really did shape me as part of the human being I am today. Kindergarten Cop, Arnold's working with children and saving a child from a bad guy, and that movie just grabbed me. I started to think of myself as that child that was being saved by Arnold, and it was just such an important movie in my life at that time, and a huge reason as to why I work now with children at Trojan Academy.
Brown and sticky.
What's brown and sticky?
A stick.
A stick? I thought it was poo.
No.
The film that completely and utterly consolidated me as a human was Terminator 2. At that time in 1991, Terminator 2 was a juggernaut. I watched it over and over and over and over again. I still remember where I was when I first saw Arnold Schwarzenegger cutting his arm open to reveal this robotic mechanical hand. It absolutely blew my mind. And again, we watched it on mute. We watched it in parts. I remember studying Edward Furlong, studying his hairstyle, wanting to become and be Edward Furlong. Just mesmerized, completely and utterly mesmerized by this movie. By the way that Arnold went from a bad guy to a good guy. That was huge for me. To see that at that age, him transform from being the killing machine to the saving machine. That was important for me at that age. Terminator 2 Judgment Day has been a part of my psyche in my entire life. Last Action Hero, True Lies. Basically all of Arnold's movies that he released in the 1990s. In 1995, with the help of social workers, I moved out of home and started living on my own, which was good and bad for me. My mother was struggling with her own addictions, and I just had to get out. At the age of 14, I moved out and lived on my own. I found drugs, alcohol, and completely lost my way. Living from place to place to place to place to place to place, trying to survive, live off nothing, selling marijuana to support the cost of the alcohol and the cost of the drugs. And there was this cycle throughout my teenage years of just this debacle. Towards the end of my teens, I was sitting with my doctor and he said, you're either going to die or go to jail with your behaviour. And I was stuck. He'd given me the information, but he didn't give me any way out. But then this happened. And this is the thing that, and is the reason why I'm still sitting here today. I was sitting in a house. I remember it's a Thursday or a Tuesday or something silly like that. And we're drinking copious amounts of alcohol. I'm 19 years old. It's the year 2000 and this movie came on. And that movie was Pumping Iron. And that was it. I knew. After losing my way throughout my entire teenage years, Arnold was in front of me again. But this time it was different. Arnold was being Arnold, lifting weights and winning competitions and bodybuilding. The next day after watching Pumping Iron, I was in my bedroom. Push-ups, sit-ups, squats, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, push-ups, sit-ups, squats. And I started to study Arnold. And here are my books. The Education of a Bodybuilder. You don't need any other books. Let me just try and pick this up. Lucky I've been doing weights my entire life. This book is massive. The Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding. This is the almanac, the Bible. This is the encyclopedia of bodybuilding. This is what I studied when I first started lifting weights. These are the pages. These are the images. This is the diet, the food, the training. Everything came from this book. Everything's in here. The training splits, the muscle groups, the training principles, the food. It's all here. If you're considering bodybuilding and you're watching this video, this is it. This is all you need, in my opinion. I absolutely love that I still have my Arnold books. And that was it. That first part of the early 2000s when I was transitioning from being an alcohol-fueled teenager to trying to be a bodybuilder, trying to be like Arnold. I struggled. I was still drinking, and so I would drink and then be hungover and go to the gym and then repeat. And then I started to pursue the idea of entering bodybuilding competitions. And before you know it, in 2004, I'd entered my first competition. I didn't win. I didn't get first, second or third. I was on the stage for 5 minutes and then asked to leave, and the top 3 were put back on, and I wasn't part of that top 3, but it didn't matter. It wasn't what I was there for. I was elated. I was so proud of myself that I'd been able to train to a point where I was able to get on a stage and show my physique, and that to me was just the biggest thing ever, just to be there. I was so happy. 2005, same thing, no results. It wasn't until 2006, 6 years after I'd picked up the first set of weights, after watching Pumping Iron, that I started to see results. In 2006, I was awarded the IFBB Mr. Tasmania trophy by Tony Doherty, the godfather of bodybuilding. There I was, standing with Australian bodybuilding royalty, Tony Doherty, and Tasmanian bodybuilding event organiser, Wayne Howlett. And for those two guys at that time, I'm extremely grateful. I was just beside myself that I'd gotten to the point where I'd started to earn trophies. I was absolutely proud of myself. Later that year, I entered the World Fitness Federation Australian Championships, and there I was on the national stage. I still can't believe this, but I won. I won the WFF Mr. Australia. I was just so happy and so proud, and I'd gotten out of the rut of which was my teenage years. I'd watched so many of my friends continue down that path into the deep, dark well, into their 20s of like alcoholism, drug addiction, jail, standing on a stage at 25, 26, 27 years of age, winning titles. Winning the WFF Mr. Australia earned me a spot to go to Germany. Germany. I couldn't have got any closer to Arnold if I'd tried. The sad thing about the Germany competition, the Mr. Universe competition that I'd earned the spot by winning the Mr. Australia, is that I couldn't afford it. I had no support from family. I had no financial backing whatsoever. I was living on Centrelink and struggling with trying to keep jobs and pretending to be a normal person. I started working as a child carer, so I was struggling to keep these jobs, and I went bankrupt at 21 years old because I just had no clue about what I was doing or how I was doing anything. I was just stringing everything along, and I'd ended up winning the Mr. Tasmania, Mr. Australia, and I had a pathway to the Mr. Universe, but I couldn't afford it. But at the time, my good friends Steve and Liz Osborne, who encouraged me to become a personal trainer and help Steve achieve his goals, and Liz, her massive weight loss goals. Liz lost so much weight, and Steve won the Mr. Victoria, Mr. Australia, as well as a Masters competitor under my guidance. They wanted to return the favour to me by paying for my ticket to Germany. So there I was, on an aeroplane, flying internationally for the first time after winning Mr. Tasmania, Mr. Australia, on the way to Germany. I can't even begin to explain how I felt on that plane on the way to that competition. I'd already won. It didn't matter. The results have never mattered to me. Just the fact that I'd made it. The competition in Germany was mind-blowing. I ended up with a 5th place. Universe 2007. If you can see here, where am I looking, Derek? 5th place. Can you see that? Where it says 5th? After the competition in Germany where I placed 5th. I was on the plane on the way home and I retired. I'd had enough. I was 26, 27 years old and I'd completed my goals. Looking back now, watching Arnold's career, he retired to pursue other goals. I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's what I do to this day. The next part of this story is going to make the connection between myself and Arnold. I'd always been fascinated with cameras. During the start of my Jiu-Jitsu career, I started making videos for people in fitness and for my own gyms and for my own fitness, and just trying to show videos and promoting what I'd become and trying to be motivational and inspirational. Then I was asked by more people to make videos for them, individuals and businesses. They'd seen what I'd started creating and they asked me to make them, and I created so much video for free for people. I just wanted to practice my craft, and I decided to go all in on creating videos, becoming a video creator, a content creator. Way back in 2012, 13, and I studied it 24 hours a day. I was making these videos on my phone at the time. I still remember the first time I got my very first camera, the Canon 70D. And again, I couldn't afford the camera, let alone the lens. And my business partner at the time bought me this camera. And I made so many films for our very successful gym. And this thing went everywhere with me. And then in 2018, I was in Melbourne making videos for bodybuilders. And at that point, my content creation, my editing was slick. And while I was at the bodybuilding competition in 2018, that was run again by Tony Doherty, the godfather of Australian bodybuilding, I approached him and I showed him one of my films. I opened the computer, said, what do you think of this? He'd featured in it, he was part of it. And he said, wow, that's cool, man. Tony Doherty's that type of guy, he's cool as shit. And he said, what are you doing next week? And I said, not much. Come to the Arnold Sports and Fitness Festival. And I looked him in the face and I said, I'll be there. My work ethic, my drive had led me to be standing in front of Tony Doherty on that day. There was nothing that was going to stop me being there. So the next week, the idea was that I'd meet Tony in the morning, 10 a.m. He messaged me the night before and said, scrap that, 7 a.m. We're going on the Today Show. We did the interview with the Today Show.
The bodybuilders in the background ready to hit some shots, and I'll talk for as long as I can. They're thinking 45 seconds, but I think I'll wind it out a little bit.
Possible rain. This is Tony Doherty.
And then Tony said this to me. He said, be back here at 10 a.m. Said, you're going to be in the bubble. And I said, the what? The bubble. You are going to be in the bubble with Channel 7, 8, 9 and 10 and my professional photographer, Gary Phillips, with Arnold. And I didn't know what to... I just said, yep, I'll be there. Sure. No problem. Tony then said, go and talk to Gary Phillips. And Gary had been taking photographs of Arnold for 25 years. So go and approach Gary Phillips. He'll fill you in on what you need to do, what you need to do. Busy guy. Bang, gone. Said, hi, Gary. I'm Darren. I said, mate, I'm in the bubble. Then he really looked at me and said, sorry, mate, you're not in the bubble. I said, yeah, I'm in the bubble. Tony Doherty just said I'm in the bubble. Nah, the bubble is Arnold. It's Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, all this stuff. And I said, no, Tony has invited me to video him and Arnold Schwarzenegger in the bubble. And then he started to explain that we were going to be following Arnold around every move. I was going to film Arnold getting out of his car, and I was just mortified, absolutely mortified. Gary looked across at me and said, what settings are you using in your camera? If you know about DSLRs, you'll know that the DSLR has an automatic function and a manual function. And I had no real clue of the camera operation. I knew how to do editing and those sort of things, but I didn't know how to use the camera. And I said, automatic. And he looked at me and said, what do you mean? No need to be like that. You can tell me your secrets. We're in this together. And I said, no, brother, seriously, I have no idea how to use this camera outside of the automatic features. And he laughed in my face and said, let's go. My first assignment was meeting Arnold as he pulled up at the back of the convention centre and walked out of the car. I was physically shaking.
Morning, boss. We're going to get hard with this shower, get done?
Yeah, I am. But I've got so much to do, and then I'll go back. I've got a fresh suit for tonight, so I'll get to the shower in between. Freshen up a little.
Okay, and then...
He leaned into Tony, put his hand up to whisper to him. I leaned into Arnold and Tony and put his hand out and pushed my camera down. And I stood back. In my mind, it was all over. I'd stuffed it up. I was finished. They whispered to each other. To what I later learned, Arnold was just joking. Arnold was just talking to Tony, trying to get a rise out of me and push the camera. But at that moment, I thought I was finished. Tony Doherty later told me that Arnold is a prankster. He plays pranks. He likes to laugh and have a good time, and he understands that he's such a massive figure, but he likes to ground things. And from that moment on, for that day and for the next day and the next, and it was chaos. We just went hard and harder and harder and worked more and more and more. And I would film Arnold's interactions. Literally run to a media room that I'd created for myself in the convention center and just edit these films as fast as I possibly could with music and cuts and edits and send them to Tony, and then Tony would WhatsApp them to Arnold. And then at one point Tony said, Darren, the boss, just let me know that you're doing amazing work. Blown away. Absolutely flawed. There I was creating video content for Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tony Doherty. And here's the kicker. This is the part that's really mind-blowing to me. During this time, Arnold started to interact with me because I was there a lot. Tony said to Arnold, Arnold, this is Darren.
No, this is Darren. He's been following us around filming just for us. He's fantastic and he's wanted to meet you. And
Why are you complaining?
he's editing. No, I'm telling you, he's editing on the run and sending fantastic videos.
I think he's doing a great job. I don't care what you say.
I'll send you one he did this morning. It was great. I did that thing for the news this morning. And before I got to the hotel, he'd already edited, put music behind it, start, stop it, really clever.
Yeah.
So he's going to be part of our team. He's doing a great job.
Absolutely. That's what it takes. Action. Talent.
And Arnold thanked me.
Yeah, thanks very much to the Darren Petty Films for helping us out here. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnold.
You've done really well.
Later on, Tony told me that not many people get that opportunity for Arnold to say something, to thank you on camera and do these things. And I was just blown away. Another time that Arnold interacted with me was we'd been doing intense video work with Arnold. My role was to film and walk backwards and dodge and duck and weave. And Arnold had noticed that I was in, some kind of physical shape. He didn't know me or know that I was a bodybuilder in the past. He didn't understand that of what he meant to me or anything like that. And he said, even this guy's in shape.
Even he's in shape with his camera. He's holding up a 1 pound camera with his hand. Just a form exercise already without there ever stopping for 5 minutes straight. I mean, think about that. You have to train for this. It doesn't just come by itself.
And I was just like, blown away. I walked backwards through a door and started walking backwards up some stairs. And everyone was walking fast paced. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And then Arnold said, you got to slow down so that camera people have a chance to walk backwards.
Watch this now. This is the skills. But they always need to walk slow so camera people have the chance to walk backwards. You never go and rush the thing. Give them time.
I appreciate your consideration. So during that pocket of time where he was interacting with me, he was letting me know that he'd noticed me. And Arnold has this knack of being in and around people and noticing people. And that's what he did with me. He noticed that I was there and I was working hard and he recognized that. That was massive for me. It just like the Terminator was talking to me. How many times have I said, blown away? I'm being blown away this whole time, but I've said blown away so many times because that's what this whole thing was like for me. That's what my life has been like for me. All off the back of my hard work. And that's the stuff that I'm proud of. That's a wrap, guys. Backstage, outside the Convention Centre, Arnold Schwarzenegger's getting in his car right there. And,
Thank you, please.
what a weekend at the Arnold Sports Festival. Unbelievable.
We'll be back.
Thank you, Darren Petty Films. You're the best in the business and I'm really looking forward to working with you again.
The next year I was invited back.
In fact, I'm inviting you right now to come back next year. Let's make a movie. Well done. Awesome. We knocked it out. Well done, man. I mean that too.
Thank you, bro.
Just prove yourself.
And we did it all over again.
Day 3, 2 or 1.
For a kid that was born into domestic violence in Mildura and moved to Darwin and watched Arnold Schwarzenegger on television, his movies, and then introduced to bodybuilding through pumping iron. Utter craziness. What an experience I've had so far.
Good to see you. How's it going?
Welcome back to Melbourne, honey.
We're here at the Arnold Sports Festival, day number 1. The place is already packed. In fact, people should be at work because it's Friday morning, but it's wonderful. It's only going to get bigger and better all weekend. Just so proud of everyone. I'm just overwhelmed. So grateful to all the fans, appreciative of all the athletes, and just glad that everyone can share our passion with Arnold, with the Fitness Crusade, because it's game on. We're going to change people's lives this weekend.
I'm here with Arnold Schwarzenegger. We've had tens of thousands through the event.
Ladies and gentlemen, biggest, baddest bodies in the world are back. That's got to be the cue for Pyro.
When you say that.
Yep. Well, there you go, the 2018 Arnold Classics done and dusted. We had a full house, the balcony was full, the people were screaming and yelling. To Arnold, thanks for coming out and supporting us the way that you do. See you next year. Of course, we'll be back.
Thanks, Tony, for everything, bro. Really appreciate it. Love you, man.
Australians, Love your sport. Stay active. Stay fit. And promote fitness.
Big shout out to Darren Petty Films. Thank you so much for the continuous coverage of this year's Arnold Classic. Awesome job, buddy. Keep it up.
Thanks to Darren Petty Films for allowing me to have this opportunity to talk to him about his projects and everything that he's putting together, and we appreciate it. I love your style, man. I love the style of the interview and everything. It allows us to get to that passionate moment, you know, and that's what it's all about behind the scenes. Peace.
Oh my gosh.
She made these bracelets, and it has.
Awesome.
And this is a hairband that I take with me. I take it with me whenever I travel. And when
Just say hi, Ayla. I wish I could meet you someday. Your dad's amazing. Say thank you to Darren Petty Films.
That everyone should exercise every day. It doesn't matter what you do. If you lift weights, if you pump iron, or if you do martial arts, if you go swimming or running or bicycling, do something. This is what the Arnold Sports and Business Festival is all about.
I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this, but here's my official media jacket. Here's another one. Here's another high vis. I love all this stuff, you know, and it sits here and it's forever reminding me of my time. And this is the official jacket that I got. I love this jacket and I've kept it in good condition. I've kept this armband for so long, and I wear it when I do podcasts and things, videos like this one, and I'm wearing it now. I put this t-shirt on today for the first time ever because I'd never really made content about my experiences with Arnold and filming with Arnold. If you've seen Pumping Iron, if you haven't, you should definitely go out and give it a watch. It stands the test of time. This is the one-off t-shirt that Arnold had printed for himself when he beat Lou Ferrigno. Arnold is numero uno. What can I say? I am a massive Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. I've watched his documentary series on Netflix. He's not perfect, but nobody is. He's an inspiration to me in my life, inspiration to millions of others. He's done so much in this world and for this world. And here's the purpose of why I wanted to make this video. If you are struggling in your life and you don't have any mentors, your parents are gone or they're ineffective parents, find a mentor. Find somebody that's doing the things that you dream to do, someone you can look up to. I found Arnold Schwarzenegger, like many others. Whatever you choose to do it to your absolute best capability. Go all in on whatever it is. Try and be the best you can be. Work hard. What's up, guys? I'm backstage at the Arnold Classic and I've started editing. As you can see, I've got footage all day of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I mean 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Following his involvement in a money can't buy experience, a Tasmanian filmmaker has returned home having made a name for himself on the world stage. Last weekend, Darren Petty was Arnold Schwarzenegger's official cameraman, following the international star on his tour down under. It's an experience that's taken Darren Petty back to where it all began.
I started bodybuilding way back in 2001, and I did that off the back of watching Pumping Iron and following Arnold Schwarzenegger's career.
Petty made a name for himself capturing every move of Luke Jackson's boxing career. Recently, he was asked to be part of Schwarzenegger's entourage during his visit to Melbourne last weekend.
I dropped everything and went along. My role was to document the behind the scenes and be up close and personal with Arnold.
He was invited into the highly intimate space known as the Bubble.
It's a big group of security guys that link arms and surround Arnold. Now, I was told the day before that I'd be in the bubble. As soon as we entered the building, the cries of Arnold rang out and it reverberated through the whole entire building.
Wherever Schwarzenegger went, Petty went too.
It's non-stop. It is from the moment he arrives to the moment he leaves. It is absolute crazy, and it's mayhem.
Even he's in shape with his camera. He's holding up a 1 pound camera with his hand.
I walked backwards with my camera for 3 days straight, without a break.
But you always need to walk slow, so camera people have the chance to walk backwards.
During his downtime, the movie star spoke glowingly of the Tasmanian.
Yeah, thanks very much to the Darren Petty Films for helping us out here. Thank you.
I almost cried, to be honest. I almost burst into tears. I kept my composure and just kept going.
Petty's vision will be seen across the globe, which is likely to launch his business onto the international stage.
Learn as much as you can about the craft, whatever it is.
You ready, guys?
This guy's doing a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. Look at this here.
Don't let your past encroach on who you are and who you want to be. Back yourself, trust yourself. Whatever you set your mind to, you can do, you can achieve. I'm 42 years old and I'm still, to this day, living in the mindset of being the best I can be. And pursuing my goals and my dreams. There's been setbacks in my life, sure. And I'm not Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm not a Hollywood superstar. I'm not the governor of anything. However, I'm still alive. I'm successful in my own way. I've created a beautiful community within Trojan Academy. I'm a competent, successful filmmaker. I keep myself fit and healthy with my knowledge of bodybuilding and fitness. Whatever you do it to the best of your absolute ability, and don't let anyone ever tell you that it's not possible, because it is possible if you set your mind to it and never take no for an answer. One more thing that I want to show you before I go, and Derek's going to go handheld. Can you go handheld without losing recording? Handheld. This lamp was made for me by a company in Melbourne called Grim Industries, and it is one of my prized possessions. It's made out of car parts. And I got a message from the guy that runs Grim Industries, and he said to me, I've got something for you. What's your address? Next thing I know, this shows up. It weighs an absolute ton, but this lamp encapsulates my work with Arnold, the opportunity that Tony Doherty gave me to film with Arnold and himself, and it just means the absolute world to me, and it reminds me of my hard work and my dedication to filmmaking and video creation, and it just blows my mind. If you want one, go to Grim Industries, link it in the description, and you can go on there and you can buy this. That's my story on how this guy impacted my life. Thank you, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Backstage with Arnold Schwarzenegger at Darren Petty Films. I'm exhausted.